Hello, a very good morning to one and all, and I am Praveen Kumar. So today we are going to demonstrate the content team ingestion agent. This is an production-ready containerized Telegram bot designed to automate the content curation. It uses long polling to ensure a stable connection without complex webhook setups. So let's understand the entire architecture and the concepts behind this project and the differences between the webhook and as well as the long polling, where to why to use that thing only. So yeah, coming to the objective, we need to build a sophisticated multi-format content ingestion agent that operates via the Telegram. So whenever the content team uploads or ingests something called the web URL or document or standard text, the bot has to process the content of it and store it in a Google Sheet drive. So yeah, primary architecture for webhook or long polling. So webhooks are nothing but a push based. Telegram sends an HTTP request to our server's endpoint whenever a new message arrives. This is efficient, but when we are using on free tier platforms such as Render or Flight.io, which often sleeps for an period of inactivity. A message arriving while our server is cold starting can be lost forever because the server is in the sleep state and our message will be gone. Coming to the long polling, it is in pull based. Our bot continuously asks the Telegram whether any messages are there to process because the request is initiated from the application. Waking up it is necessary. So the advanced content extraction. So I have used Traffic Ultra, Traffic Ultra for extracting the content of the HTML because in a web page there are some multiple headers, folders, and divs. Many things are will be there. And coming to the practical UI, there will be ads also. We need to remove all the things and we need to extract the raw HTML content. So Traffic will works by passing the DOM of a web page and extract the core article content. So it will stripping away the ads, navigation bars, and other boilerplate. And coming to the PDF documents, we will be not sending the raw PDF to the LLM because it makes the token cost will be high for processing the PDF, and there will be tables inside it PDF, and we need to use some other libraries such as the PyPDF or PyPDF too. So in order to remove all those things, we'll be using something called Microsoft slash Marketdown. It's an tool specially designed to convert documents into a Markdown. So you have seen your Redmi, we'll be writing in your Markdown code. So the PDF will be converted into Markdown code. Okay, first let's make a practical demonstration and we'll be going through the code. Okay, first let's spin up the Docker containers. Yeah, the container is in building state. So first I have created an bot in the Telegram using bot further. It will be generating an API key and we will be storing in our .env. So with that access we can be access this. So the bot name is content agent. Okay, let's start with the start command. So I have already done some previous work, so you will be seeing that. Yeah, it will be responding your name. Okay, let's first start with the text. Yeah, we'll be giving this URL to our bot and it will extract the content present in that page and passes that content to the LLM. Okay, let's So once it is detect the URL, I think there will be 1,37,005 characters. Let's see. Yeah, the traffic will extract the HTML of the page, and the HTML will be sent to the model, and it writes into our Google Sheets. You can see that the URL will be generating, and the LLM generated title and the rationally the category, and we'll be storing the LinkedIn type and X variant, so you can post in your social media accounts, and also you can set your style. So once we are setting a style, the model will follow that style in the future responses. Okay, right, like a tech industrialist using emojis like so once we define the style, and in the future prompts or the future data, it will follow that style and process our data and stores in it our Google Sheets. Okay, let's try to send in a document. Okay, let's try to send a Bitcoin PDF which was written by Satoshi Nakamoto. It's actually a research paper. PDF detected, and the length of is 22,485 characters. So once the PDF has been detected, it will be converted into the markdown code. So let's see whether written in the. You can see that that content type is PDF, and the LLM has written a title, and you can post this in your LinkedIn. So right now it's been in short form, but you can extend by setting the prompt. So we have seen the. Okay, let's try to send some text to model. So the LLM has detected the standard text because we are not sending any URL or PDF. So I have used here two LLMs. One is the Grok API, the Cloud API, and another thing is Ollama, which runs in my system. You can see this is running on my system, Ollama. Yeah, persistent style memory. So we have seen the practical demonstration how I have set this style. And idempotent writes means once it is written into our Google Sheets, we don't want to write another time. Okay, let's try to send that to also. Let's try to send the again the document. So the previous text has been processed and written into our Google Sheets. So again, I'm sending the same PDF. So the PDF content has already processing. So previously we have sent this PDF, the Bitcoin paper, and we don't want to waste our LLM tokens. So this is our system architecture. Whenever a user sends a message such as text or URL, the Telegram bot API uses our long polling service. So the bot will continuously ask whether any messages are left or we need to process anything. So coming to the ingestion service, content type router. There are two types. One is URL and another one is PDF. So HTML extractor will be using Trafalgar, and PDF extractor we are using Microsoft to mark it down. So once the content has been extracted, we are sending to it to our LLM orchestrator, where it will be writes into our or checks in our database about the style and generates a structured JSON. So the LLM API, which we can be using Grok, formats the data and writes into our Google Sheets. So this is the core architecture of our service. Well, get into the code, the main.py. So import the necessary libraries, and from Telegram we will be using application and command handler for setting the commands, and context type means the type of context we are getting. And from Telegram we are importing update module, because update is the actual message, the actual object received by the Telegram. So how can you differentiate the a URL or a standard text, because both containing the same? You can think that if it is starts with HTTPS or it contains domain name. Yeah, that's a mainly difference, because standard text will be in the normal text and URL will contains HTTPS and the domain name. But we need, whenever we need to parse the URL, you need something called this URL lib.parse. So at the beginning of the practical demonstration, we have seen the start command. So whenever we run the main application, the command handler takes the start and runs the method start command. And in the same way, when we set the command set style, this method will be executed. And whenever a user sends a message, because both will be sending from the input of the Telegram box, so it can be a comment or a message. So if we will be using filters, and if it is a text, we will be routing the message to route text message function, and if it is a document, we will be assigning that to route document function. So application chooses polling, so it will be run using run polling. It will be allowing updates of any type, a document or a URL or a standard text. So this is the core of our application, which starts the application with builder pattern. So the fail first, if the bot token is not assigned, we will be raising the value error such as critical error, Telegram bot token is missing. And if the grow KPI key is not set, will be the start command. Whenever a user sends this slash start, this method will be executed, and within the update we will be using the effective user dot first name. So at the beginning you see hello Nani. The Nani will be received from the this first name, and it will be responding with a name message. And a set style. Whenever a user sends a set style command, this method will be executed. So once the command has been received, we will be saving in our database. So I have written a database.py file and used a normal SQLite 3. And you have seen the idempotency, means we don't want to generate or process the same text or PDF once it is processed. So we are generating the hash of each thing. So I will be using something called hashlib, and the algorithm is SHA-256, and it is converted into hex digest, returns the digest value as a string of hexadecimal digits. So you can see that the source identifier is nothing but our hash value. And whenever user sends a URL or a standard text message, this method will be executed, and we will be extracting the user ID, and the text will be stored in the text payload. If it is a URL, then we will be using URL parse in the text URL. and we are also extracting the style of the user previously set one. If it contains URL dot scheme, means if it contains HTTPS, and URL parsed URL dot netlock, means it contains domain such as google.com. The if it contain that, we will be replying with URL related extracting extract article 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 content. So for extracting, we are using Trafalathra, and it will be using extractors.py file. So we'll be importing Trafalathra and Microsoft Markdown for PDF processing. So we are fetching the URL content, and if the URL is not returning anything, for example, say when I try to access the content of lead code problem, I have gone to lead code UA and send the URL. But it modern applications uses React JS or need Next.js. So it's an just a bunch of HTML. No, sorry, it's a JavaScript which will be executed dynamically based on the problem. So in that type, it will be not able to process the content. It is not a static content. So we'll be extracting the text from Trafalathra, and if there is no text, fail to extract readable text. We are just returning something. And coming to the extraction of document, a object of Microsoft Markdown, and we'll be converting that into file path. If nothing is there in the PDF, we'll be raising file to extract Markdown file. So that's the use of extraction. And I have been using async IO because if user A sends 100 pages of PDF and user B sends a start command. So if the application is in synchronized phase, it has to stay for nearly 10 minutes processing user A request only. But what have to be done by user B? They will be staring at the screen and thinking that bot will reply. So this makes application a bottleneck. So I have been shifted to asynchronous generation of using async IO. So here they will be using something called event block looping. Let's wait. I will show you the concept of. Have you know the use of event block, event looping? So yeah, this is the concept. In asynchronous Python, using async IO, our applications runs on a single thread called the event loop. So the event loop's job is to constantly shifting from one request to another request and processing that request. But we don't want to our application to wait for more time. So blocking occurs when a heavy synchronous CPU task over that single thread and refuses to yield control. So why it is dangerous? So as mentioned, if the bot goes viral and if a user submits 100 pages, and those 49 users will experience a complete time server timeout. And for item dependency, we have used cryptography hashing with the algorithm SHA-256. So it is a deterministic one-way mathematical function which takes a input data such as a word, a sentence, or a 100-page PDF string and converts into a fixed 64 length hexadecimal string, our hex digest. So in our case, we will be converting our document to the hash of this hexadecimal digit. So because SHA-256 deterministic, the exact same input will always generate the same exact 64 character hash. So comparing the 64 strings takes a fraction of milliseconds. We'll be looking of a big of one complexity. So we'll be checking at the application level whether it was written to Google Sheets or not. So this is how I manage the content extraction and writing to Google Sheets of URL and text. Coming to the document routing, so we are extracting the user ID and the document uploaded by the user. So how we are checking whether the user send a document, because we are using something called MIME type, multi-purpose mail extension. It will be the extension of the file. If the application slash PDF, then we are PDF detecting and extract, downloading and extracting, replying the with the bot, and we need to process that PDF within our system, because running and processing whole thing in the Telegram, it is not possible. So that's why we are downloading in our system just for a temporary purpose, just to extract and deleting the file. So we are getting the file ID, and we are downloading to our system, and once downloaded we will be sending to our extract document content using Microsoft Markdown. And once generated, we are generating the hash of the extracted Markdown, because we don't want to run the same system twice if the user sends this twice. So once the PDF is passed successfully, we are returning the length of the, I mean the characters of the LLM, and we are sending it to our LLM. So as mentioned, I have used two LLMs. One is Ollama and another one is Grok. So I can process all the things using Ollama, but the CPU inference time takes a lot of time. So I have shifted to cloud-based APIs using Grok, or you can also use Gemini, because they are ultra fast. They run on TPUs, not on the normal CPUs. So yeah, once we are extracting and writing to our Google Sheets, this is the error handling, whether written or not written. If anything network drops or something occur, we will be raising exception as PDF processing failed. And one of the drawback I have faced in this cloud-based LLM is the Grok API is not able to process the whole document. I mean, if the length of the document is more than 100 pages, it is not able to processing. It says 403 error with too large payload. So you can try using Gemini. Yeah, once the processing has been completed, we will be removing from our system. I think you can see the Docker logs. So yeah, once the file has been processed, we will be cleaning the temporary file. So this is the core of our application, and coming to the LLM orchestrator. So which one has to be processed when? Yeah, this is the expected schema for the LLM, that consisting of a title, a rational, and a category, and variants such as X post and LinkedIn post. So we are defining schema level constraint prompting, not a one shot prompting or zero shot prompting. So once we are extracting the content, we want LLM to generate within our schema or the style consisting of here. So we are assigning it task for the LLM and the role by setting you are an expert content strategist and a copywriter. And because the local LLMs can written in some other formats instead of returning in the JSON format. So even we can set in a prompting level, but it can return in some other types instead containing emmets or other symbols. So we do not include markdown blocks and do not include any expression, only output the JSON. Yeah, this will work, but sometimes it will also fail. So we want pure JSON to be extract. We will be sending something called format equal to JSON. So yeah, we don't only generate the content, but we are also making three attempts. Sometimes network failures can occur, so that's why we are generating. If the provider equal to grok, then we will be returning the raw response from the call grok function. So we are sending this to URL, and the base model I have been using is Llama 3.1, and message response format should be in the JSON object. So in this way, I have sent a request to the grok, and when I sent to Ollama within this URL and Llama 3.2 I have been using, and we will be using strictly JSON output. So we are setting the format to JSON, and the streaming colon false means. So have you ever seen ChatGPT's response? So it will be generating within one character, another character. So we don't want to like that. Once all the content has been processed, we want to return at a time. So that's why stream colon false will works. And the timeout to 120, 2 minutes timeout for CP inference. Yeah, coming to the database.py file, we need to store the style of the user. I have been using SQLite 3 and creating a table called user styles if it is not existing, and user ID as a primary key. So if a user updates their style prompt, we will be storing it updated at timestamp and the current timestamp. So this is our user style. Saves or updates the user custom style preference using an upset function. So whenever there is a conflict, once a user has already their style and they need to update their style. So it works by update or insert operation. And if we want to retrieve the user style, we'll be using this function. And to generate a deterministic star for each text payload, we'll be using generate content hash and sheet writer. So once everything has been processed, we need to write in our Google Sheets. So the extracted header should contain all these details. So don't worry, don't need to manually write the column names. So they will automatically append it on the startup. So authenticates the credentials. And one thing, you need to create an service account in your Google Cloud Console and extract the details such as credentials. So the GSpread library I have been used. So I dependency check whether a URL has been processed or not. That's it, guys. How I created a content agent ingestion API. I mean, Telegram content agent for data curation. You can comment on if you are having any doubts. Thank you. And you can access the GitHub URL for the project details. So everything was written, and comments are also has been added, and the decisions such as webhooking and long polling and the strategy, identity strategy, and rate limiting. So everything was clear. Thank you, guys.